are in September, September 1st, and we are headed into an eclipse season. And truly, the more I'm tracking my own chart and working on clients' transit readings, it is just phenomenal to observe the relationship that we have with planetary aspects and placements in our charts. So if you ever are curious and you're wanting to track your own personal natal chart and have a look at the transits and how they're aspecting you, feel free to ask. I personally like to use astro-seek.com, and there's plenty of different sites as well. So, Google it and find your personal natal chart. Look for a transit chart reading, which is tracking the current planetary movements. And then in a transit chart, you can actually see how they're aspecting you. And of course, you're welcome to book a private reading as well. It's a Monday morning, and I'm happy to be here with my patrons who get ad-free first access. They do get a fair bit of exclusive content, including access to the Be the Change courses, a 10% discount on bookings with myself, and the yoga playlist at their request for the top tier patrons. You can cancel at any time, and I do believe the free trial is still there. So if you're not too sure and you just want to have a peek in and a look at some of the content that's there, feel free to join the Patreon community. I currently have, I'm looking at our eclipse cycles in front of me right now, and just reminding myself that we moved away from the Aries Libra axis. We had a final, we actually kicked off the Pisces eclipse season back last September. So you could even look at that as in reflect on what was going on last September, maybe. And then October, so September 18th and then October 2nd was the final in Libra. Libra and Aries axes. As you know, the nodes are the nodes of fate, they're called. So they're sort of mathematical points, and wherever the lunar nodes are tracking is close enough to where the eclipses are going to be happening for that 18-month cycle, give or take. There's always this sort of fluidity, and that makes me think about how, we're in constant motion, and that when we look at the bright side rather than the kind of intensity of the eclipses or the potential emotional or turbulent intensity around eclipses, they're part of our destiny. And so they will reroute us. They're gonna bring stuff up, and if it's not for us, if it's not meant for us, it's gonna reroute us onto a different path, a different journey, which is making me think it'd be quite interesting to look back a little further at different eclipse seasons and look at how those eclipses sort of affected different parts of our lives and how we were rerouted, right? I'm happy having my morning coffee with you all and reflecting on these eclipses. So the upcoming, this is the week ahead, September 1st to September 7th. September 7th is the day of the total lunar eclipse in Pisces. It's at 15 degrees, which means if we have planets or placements at the 15th degree of Pisces or the mutable signs, we're likely to really be feeling this. And then like water signs can be positively impacted, and then other signs, depending, could also have some good luck and some positivity, especially because Jupiter's in Cancer. So this total lunar eclipse is going to be trining the Jupiter in the Cancer part of your chart. which should offer some positive flow. And again, that will depend on where those signs are in your natal chart, you know, which house they represent, what area of life, pardon me, are we focusing on? Lots of reflection here. So let's really start to tune in for the messages for this collective, the All to Love collective, certainly my Patreon community, divine guidance, loving clarity. What are the most important messages for this community? There's a letting go, there's a release point. Pisces is the final sign in our zodiac wheel, and it is like the oceanic, the void, you know, Neptune can rule over Pisces. But as the final sign, there's a releasing, right? There's a shedding, there's a letting go of things that no longer serve us, things that are not going with us. Again, things that are not meant to from a destiny point of view, right? The nodes of fate and destiny. Virgo is often representative of cleansing and digestion and perfectionism, right? Even martyrdom. That axis can be savior complex, victimhood as well. So then again, I get that sense of, you know, we might be clearing house, we might be doing a deep clean. We are obviously also in a change of season as we head into autumn and fall. So, and bearing in mind as well that the eclipse on the 21st is the day before the equinox. So it's going to be a supercharged month of transformation and change points, that we might be in a completely different frame of mind. We could be in a different habit structure, because Pisces and Axis, right, or Pisces and Virgo, pardon me, if we're suddenly going, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to eat that thing, I don't want to drink that thing, I don't want to snore that thing, right, whatever it might be that we're releasing, or that person or that community, right, we will just be able to let it go. And so Virgo is going to have that cleaning and clearing and looking at the attention, looking at the, like attention to detail, right? Really reflecting on why maybe, and or being a little bit more analytical about what we're transitioning, what we're releasing, what we're letting go of, and then structure in the new habits that do support us. I really get a sense that pardon me, my lovers, I'm definitely got something in my eye. So the releasing is also an invitation to structure in some new habits. Obviously enjoyable ones, wholesome ones, healthy ones, ones that really, you know, light us up, but also we know that they're going to serve us for the long haul. So just so you're aware, there's a total lunar eclipse on the 7th of September at 15 degree Pisces. There's a partial solar eclipse on September 21st. That's the day before the equinox. So that one's going to be really potent, especially because there's something really significant going on in the Virgo part of our chart, where we had the new moon just a couple weeks ago. That new moon was at the early degrees or 0 degree Virgo, and now the next new moon, so that's called a black moon, when there's two lunations in the same sign within a month's cycle. It's fairly rare. So we're definitely being kind of funneled into focusing on that Virgo area as a shift point. So again, maybe because it's digestion, something that we're eating, we suddenly realize, oh my God, I don't want to eat that anymore. And then we see it really clearly. And then by the end of the month, it's like, oh, okay, we can let that go. We can release that. Or we're going to change something about how we look, or we're going to change a way that we communicate. Again, there could be, it really depends on where it's happening in your birth chart, but there's shining light in that area to help us clean house and really lighten us up and allow us to take what we need and release what we don't need. So September 21st, the final degrees, 29th degree of Virgo, a partial solar eclipse. And then eventually we'll be moving into the Aquarian and Leo axis. So next February 2026, that is going to be a potent time. So once we get through this eclipse season, there'll be some new structures. There could be some new community, new people, new habits that we're structuring in to our day-to-day routine. And then that's going to really set us up for fall into winter to then really create a shift point and established new foundation by February. Because February, we're going to see the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. I'm really feeling it because some of you guys know already, I'm a Capricorn rising. So I'm Saturnian in nature. That's often representative of being really disciplined, understanding that you have to put the work in to get the reward, quite physical in a sense, as far as like actual tangible physical discipline. And Saturn, the Lord of Time, that can often be also like a respect for tradition, authority, you know, positive authority from my point of view, because I have Pluto, Saturn, Mars conjunction in Libra. So there's a lot of heavy focus on justice and fairness and diplomacy, right? So positive discipline that can positively impact us, right? Because if we think about things like addiction or repression, those kinds of disciplines, because if you think of a discipline as just something we do on a regular basis, something we do every day, like most of us would brush our teeth every day, most of us would, you know, maybe have a hot drink every day or some water every day. So those are disciplines to a certain degree. It's just that often because of a distortion in our psyche or a false perception or disconnection, we then discipline ourselves to things that are not great for our being, for our relationships, or whatever it might be. Relationships are likely to come into the fore as well, especially once we get into the Leo and Pisces or Leo and Aquarius axis, because that's really asking us to feel comfortable shining our light, feel comfortable being who we are, being our authentic self, which is, it's just so divine. Like, it makes perfect sense that Pisces Virgo is going, okay, this thing is dying out, this community or these people or this habit or this place of living is fading away and dying out because it's not a part of your future. Sorry, my loves. I'm getting annoyed with it too, but I really want to get rid of whatever's in my eyeball. Can you see? There's like a little block. I think that's it. So getting rid, releasing, cleansing, shedding, or just, you know, if we're not seeing the change, or if we're not intuiting what that change might be, or what area of our life, or who or what, it will come to us. Especially, again, if we have, which, again, most of us will have certain things that are being aspected, because we all have all these bits in our natal chart. So it will come up, we'll be able to let it go, and then we'll be able to kind of start to hone in on the new habits, the new structures that are going to lead us to that foundational awareness of the new structures being established so that we can build. I often just think of a building straight up. You need to have strong foundations so the building doesn't fall down or topple over, right? So we're really, really being guided. And because Neptune is involved, this really is our higher mind, our connection to unity consciousness. Think about the ocean and how it's really all connected, or this infinite space supporting our cosmic solar system and galactic integration. And then that makes me think of all the different levels and dimensional realities that various humans and communities are working with and working on, and how we're bridging into these higher timelines. Certainly, you know, from my perspective, even though the news and the things out there in the media might have us believe or think in moments that things are just going to get worse and worse and worse, and we're just going to have a big digital takeover. Although do be aware of that. Because that will continue to come up also once we move into the Aquarian nodal axis, Aquarius and Leo. Like, we want to be our authentic self, but can we be that authentic if we're constantly ingesting information externally? That's why our practices of hanging out in nature, of meditating, of just connecting and feeling our own heart space and listening to our own divine connection, why that is so potently powerful as we move forward in these times is because there's the potential of people just losing their mind, and I mean that by losing their own ability to think for themselves, and not just constantly, and I do it too, but like constantly be defaulting to looking for answers and information outside of self. So keep meditating, my loves. And again, Virgo, Pisces, this is a health axis. So we're really having to look at the ways we're looking after ourselves, and of course, potentially in our psyche, victimizing ourselves, and then taking action to structure in the things that we know are good for us. And that often could be, so the mental, psychological effects of distortion or things like addiction or avoidance. So that's like the Pisces end of it, or like completely losing our minds or losing our heads. I want to also highlight, because it's an earth and water axis, that we could still see some pretty radical, like natural disasters happening, floods, water tragedies, or water issues. And then Earth, Virgo, that's earthquakes, obviously, and turbulence underground or with the earth herself, and having access to healthy food, right? And clean food to support our digestion. Because we know like the gut affects the mind, right? Or the brain. So it's like knowing that, and that's part of maybe why we might be guided to fast or have a detox, or I'm thinking of sauerkraut for some reason, and how there's like those, the fermented food has the probiotic, which is, don't quote me on this stuff, but like is meant to help support a healthy gut, right? So all of that being said, let's get into the cards for you guys. Divine guidance and loving clarity. We are looking at the total lunar eclipse this coming Sunday, September 7th. And the energies around this eclipse and the eclipse season of September. And obviously I'll continue coming out sideways as well, but we will take it. So justice is being served, and the death card. This is total transformation, right? Total transformation to be reborn in justice, in fairness, in uprightness and balance. Because there's like the sword of truth sitting on our throne as our own inner authority in a balanced state of being. Why? How did we get there? Because we died to the old. We no longer served the things that were not good for us, or served a kind of false structure or imbalanced structure. I want that false structure to die out, and we're going to be reborn, sit on our throne, and speak truth. That can also just be, oh yeah, that was something that come through, I think, a Lee Harris update. But truly, some of us might be called to speak out, to call people out, to like, and I'm getting a feeling, because so many of us in this community specifically are empathic, that we might speak up in a way that even surprises ourselves, right? Or not, but communication and the way we're able to attune to our own personal truth and compassion and speak that. I'm thinking of situations like work situations more specifically, but of course that can be more of our personal relationship stuff as well. You know, speaking clearly, speaking compassionately, but speaking and saying things that maybe 5 years ago or 6 months ago or 10 years ago, we just would not have been able to speak. And that's making me think of like the witch wound, which often connects to like sexual abuse and stuff like that, and then the war wound. So as a collective imprinting, how our humanity as men and women, how we've been enslaved, and how dominantly, but they do cross over increasingly, how men often are carrying a brutal war wound in their beingness as enslaved beings to fight wars for an external god, and then how women have been oppressed, suppressed, or repressed, and also abused sexually and used for their labor and service, and or downright persecuted and killed for their intuitive, healing, psychic, witchy abilities. So it's like the opposite and same spectrum, you know, same common humanity, and yet as genders we've often been separated and indoctrinated and or just downright enslaved to act out certain atrocities, or allow those atrocities to be acted out on ourselves, and how we are purging that shadow. We are continuing to clear, release, and heal the shadow of our human oppression, enslavement. That's also a big part of the death process, and having the courage, having the courage to speak up and speak our truth, where in another timeline or in still working through our shadow, we don't have the courage to do it because there's genuine, in a sense, valid fear of being persecuted or being shunned or exiled or, you know, whatever it might be. So thank you, all of you, for your bookings, your comments, your messages. I really, really appreciate it. Divine guidance and loving clarity. This is for the Patreon community and the broader Ultra Love and Ultra Love TV community. What are the most important messages coming through for this eclipse portal? Wow, it's all major arcana as well. Of course it is, right? Of course it is. Major shifts, major changes. A little bit of extra potency with it being the final, you know, the 6th and 12th axes, the Virgo and Pisces energy. Pisces being the thing that truly, truly what's not serving us on that higher timeline is being washed out, cleaned out, cleared out. No doubt, like more than likely, be aware of holding space for self. If we're being triggered, if we, yep. If we're getting triggered, to do our best to hold that space and work through, process, sit with, etc. I am getting something about plant medicine, allowing, or even like perhaps for some of you, there could be a desire to go on retreat, maybe have a plant medicine ceremony on retreat. I'm much more likely to kind of offer that, but within a ceremonial therapeutic setting, as in make sure you're held with a safe practitioner if that's something you're feeling called to do, and or within yourself. Okay, divine guidance, loving clarity. I'm looking ahead. I'm looking at the my loves. I really kind of get this like, wowzers, we're gonna be building, we're gonna be creating from a very different place by next February inception. that could be like an inception point for a lot of you, us. It will be a significant marker for like, I'm on the new path and I have the new structure. The foundation's been established. So like our lives could look really quite different from next February. I'm hearing something about money. There could be money for some of you. Let's get some more cards. I'm going to have a little look at that Chariot energy. This is something about holding space for self. The Hanged Man, if we're feeling stuck, to really like hold space for that illumination rather than constantly seeking it outside of ourselves. Something about like it's all held, it's within our illumination, it's within our Christed self, it's within our individual consciousness. That's another major arcana as well. So if we have felt stuck and if we're kind of trying to look for an answer outside of ourselves, that's the signature. It's like stop grasping, stop trying to figure out where you're going to go. You're going. You're it. You're in it. You're on flow. You're living your life, you know? Like that's the illumination will come from within you rather than trying to get it outside of self or like expecting someone else to give it to us. That illumination comes from within, okay? And that is a part of the rising justice. It's a part of our evolution as a species to recognize our own divinity, to know that the illumination comes from within. Things like tarot, it's like it's always been coded. It's like coded within us. And no matter how hard sort of certain forces of this planet might endeavor to control that consciousness, it's an innate part of our being, right? So you can't take it away. That's part of, you know, this divine inheritance of an earthly life, that your connection to source or divinity or spirit or whatever you want to call it, that is always yours no matter what. No one can take that from us, right? So we're really anchoring in that knowing from the seat of power. That's the justice energy. When we're anchored in our own personal power. We're not looking for it for outside of ourselves. And that includes seeking validation from thinking, my God, more major. Oh my God. Wowzers. The major arcanas are running through. So there is an opening. I'm kind of sensing it will come probably after the eclipse season because this is kind of looking ahead. Some of you are, so there's a 9 of Wands. So that means that I want you to be aware of burnout and exhaustion, working too hard. Be mindful of that. For some of you, there's potentially like mother wound stuff coming up. So energies connected to mother. In these more general readings, you can flip the genders if it's more appropriate for you to dictate that's the father wound rather than the mother wound. But I am looking at an Empress reverse. And that's like the Holy Mother, the Divine Mother. If she's reversed, then there could... So this is more to do with like a block. If there's a blockage in moving forward, or a sense of a block around closing out certain chapters, culmination points, and we're just feeling exhausted, that to me signals like that need to rest, restore, and feel to heal, right? So it's like, if we're just burnt out and we're rushing around and working and we're looking for this, that, and the other, and we're trying to get more information, and we're wanting this person to validate us, or we're wanting that judge to, whatever it is that we're seeking outside of self, if it's getting to the point of burnout and exhaustion, it's more than likely because it's not out there. You need to look within, because they're reversed and it's the World card. So this is the culmination point, a release point, a closure, it's not quite closing and we're just getting tired, and it's because there's an avoidance. We're not quite getting it. So we're having to really drop in. Know that you're protected, because the Nine of Wands is also like, you are protected. You have established those boundaries or protections around you. They are there. They are established. All the work you've done is not for nothing, right? And now it's like, just sit with it and hold that space. I do want a little bit more clarity for that offering, divine guidance, love, and clarity. And it might be that somebody comes in to shine light for you. That's often, to me, a big part of relationships, that how we shine light for one another, how our own guidance, our own internal framework can shine light for self and other, right? So that could be somebody says something, or somebody looks at you in a certain way. This is a Queen of Wands, shining light. This, oh yeah. So that's definitely kind of relevant as far as somebody, it could be even, again, like a stranger, a passerby, or not, but like, I'm feeling it as a fairly like quick encounter that's slightly unexpected, which is also a big part of eclipse portals, right? That suddenly hits you, triggers us in a certain way that's like, OMG, I could not see that. And then we have a big purge or a big emotional release, or maybe it's an invitation, go to a slightly different environment, or go have a therapy, or whatever it might be, that points to that healing, right? So be open to those sorts of encounters, because the reason I was like, oh yeah, so that shining of the light from a potential stranger or somebody from further afield is gonna help that tower come down, because towers want to come down when they're unstable, right? And to me, because the world's involved in Empress, this is a huge part of closing out the old chapters that are wanting to close, so that we can embrace our true Empress or Emperor energy, rather than having it being kind of shaded in exhaustion, or not able to really rise the Empress or Emperor energy because we're working all the time, or because we're defaulting into victimhood. Interesting too. It's like, now I've got 2 chariots reversed. So I'm like, see, this is not the time. This is not the time to be charging forward on a new mission, or even necessarily, although if we've already kind of moving towards it, life flows, it is what it is. But now that I've seen 2 chariots reverse, I'm thinking, just try to sit tight on brand new things, new projects, launches, that kind of stuff, until after the eclipses. Because I just get a sense there's other healing that wants to take place. Oh, baby. Definitely, definitely. 9, 10 of Wands. That's major. So there's a sense of exhaustion. There's a sense of burden that really wants to kind of come up, be released. For a lot of you, it's connected to the mother wound, like you'll never amount to anything, or you have to work hard all the time to be able to get by, or your only value is the work that you do, or your only value is how you look, or blah, 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 right? The inherited victim consciousness, potentially, which is coming through distorted belief systems, rather than your essence, your soul, your pure existence is the value. That's where there could be like almost a resistance to taking rest, and luxuriating that rest, because that's where that light can be shown, in that rested state, and then the tower can come down. For some of us, it could be a tower around, so maybe it's value and worth, but there could also be a bit of a romantic vibe here too. The Knight of Cups is like serenading the heart space. That could also be a point too, where it's like, regardless of our connections to others, that we're wanting to really luxuriate and bring a sense of loving romance into ourselves, for ourselves, right? Instead of projecting it outwards or seeking it outside of self. I'm hearing like it's all coming regardless. You know, we'll get the thing. We'll hang out with the people. We'll find the love. But we have to die to these old structures big time, because it's tower, death, justice. We have to die, let them fall, let the dust settle, to then still be sat in our justice throne, right? And honestly, my loves, that's it. That just wants to come out. So that's the 10 of Wands. It's, some of you have released it, some of you are approaching the release point. If it's not, again, just happening, it will be that somebody comes into our reality and says something, does something that just hits us in a way of like, oh my God, that's the thing. That's what I have to let go of. That's what I have to release to make it final. I'm just looking at these cards. I'm going to intuit the message here. For some of you, there's something perhaps quite potent in just stargazing. As in, if it's not another human shining light, it could be just reflecting, staring up at the night sky and getting a bit of a download. Also nature, seeing the signs and the symbols and the trees and the insects. That's a big anchoring in as we continue to heal things like the witch wound, right? Or the war wound, where once the density of those wounds, inherited or otherwise, have been released from the field, we can perceive the symbolism of our lives more openly and more clearly and more intuitively. We'll notice bees, we'll notice birds, we'll notice these energies communicating to us. Like I recently in a share mentioned the spiders. You know, noticing where the spiders show up and what they're kind of weaving in our lives, right? And how we are co-creating with this entire earthly realm all the time. And yet when we're too busy humaning from that kind of separation perspective, we don't often pick up on the signs, or we think it's woo-woo, right? But to me, all of it is just, it's meaningful, or not. But like, to me, these things, when we're really open to them, they add meaning to our lives. They add value, even companionship or friendship, right? Spiders, but I'm thinking of the creatures, of the cats and the dogs, you know. And some of you guys know I've moved, but my neighbors have 2 cats, and it's such a joy, especially because one of them is pure black, like the cat that I used to cat sit for, who's now moved to Ireland with his with his proper mom. And so seeing another fully black cat around is just like such a gift, really. And I just, you know, to me, they're like mystical beings that are here to kind of, yes, companionship, but also offer us gateways to different realms sometimes. Forge, don't follow, pave a new path, be the leader you wish you had. And I have been getting that too around what we perceive as mother-father wounding, is that alchemizing all the pain allows us to show up for people the way we weren't shown up for. Heal, process, forgive, etc. Then we can be the parents or the friends or the mothers or the lovers or whatever that we didn't necessarily have, but we can still offer that to people, even the people that we might have those grievances with, right? Divine guidance, loving clarity. We're just going to pull at least one card from each of the final 2 decks. Again, starry, starry night. Look, how funny with the Sagittarian expansion card. So have no doubt, even if there's contraction or uncomfortable emotion that's coming up that we have to process, there is an expansion here. We are being guided to expand, explore, higher learning. Wow, exactly. And then also tend to the home. So we still have to make sure the home's in order, right? And that can be tending to the flame, could be as much the primary home of your body as your physical environment, like your brick and mortar home. I'm taking that as both. The Vesta flame to me is like the flame within. When we alchemize, when we do the inner work, you know, we really are walking through our own fire. And so that can be a purification process of our physical vessel and body that then extends out into our physical world and our home and our car and our, you know, all the things. Ooh, nice. Anima Mundi. That's the final card actually in that deck. So that's a big culmination, completion, as I've already said. I'm really noticing the symbol for part of fortune. All of us, again, part of fortune and vertex are I do believe they're like mathematical points in the chart, but they can often point to where and how, and what area of our birth chart we are likely to make a fortune. And that to me is unique for everybody. I'm certainly not one to idolize or I think billionaires are fantastic, because to me on a finite planet, not to diss or take away talent or anything, but on a finite planet, certainly from a yogic tradition and various spiritual traditions, it's like hoarding is not a healthy thing. No. So in a finite resourced planet, to be hoarding resources and wealth from your brothers and sisters on the planet is just really, really distorted. I kind of don't care what anybody says about it. I'm like, anyone who's got these billions, if they're not kind of giving it away or feeding people or housing people or doing genuine good deed and just funneling all their wealth back into the people, and some are doing that, but otherwise, if you're just here to accumulate, there's fuckery about in the mind field, right? So here we are purifying our soul, purifying our bodies to expand our consciousness. Sagittarius card there makes me think that could genuinely be a shift for some of you, like finishing one career and then doing a higher learning, or going back to school to learn about something, or just doing a course that expands us to then, again, by next February, suddenly we're like doing a whole new trade, or we're on a new path of learning, or we're starting to write a thesis, or, you know, whatever it might be. Because Anima Mundi really does make me think like we have, that is pointing also to the witch and the war wound, where there's enough of the collective who have now healed and integrated those wounds to then establish the new foundation in the kind of DNA structure of the lighter human being. And there's enough new earth energy being born into the planet through babies that's really shifting. And then that is also like part of what we're seeing, the earthquakes, the water, the earth shaking things up, water's cleaning things out, right? It's all divine, it's all held, it's all love, it's all forgiven. It's a joy to be here with you guys for this wild ride of life. I'm going to leave it there. My patrons, have a wonderful week. Tune in, check in, feel free to share how this week is going for you, what you're feeling and sensing. And of course, feel free to book a private reading, and you can use my top tier patrons. You can use your 10% discount code. And wowzers, we're in it. I'll look forward to the update next week, if not sooner. Have a wonderful week, you guys. Look after yourselves. Stay really safe. Don't overwork. Really listen and trust your authentic truth. You know, be willing, be courageous enough, and I will see you next week. Take care. Peace out.